Despite the recent pullback that we've seen across the board of the general crypto markets, many altcoins are already soaring to new yearly highs. I mean, just look at these charts for example. We have AVAX, which just hit a new yearly high of over $20. We have Solana, which just hit a new yearly high of over $64. And we even have newer coins like Celestia that just hit a new all-time high of over $6.50. Now, despite all of this happening, like I said, a couple of days ago, we saw a general pullback across the markets of cryptocurrency. It doesn't matter if it was Bitcoin, Ethereum, or even a mainstream altcoin, pretty much everything pulled back across the board. I mean, even in the example that we just used, something like AVAX saw a really hefty pullback of around 20+%, and that wasn't uncommon to see across the board of altcoins. So this raised a lot of questions like, is the crypto market running out of steam? Can this run continue? And why is the markets rallying again so fast to begin with? So what I want to do here in today's video is answer all of these questions and talk about why I believe the crypto market still has a long ways to go to the upside, and I don't think the end is near, at least not anytime soon. So I want to kind of back up those claims in today's video, and all that we ask here is that if you like the content that we make, consider hitting the like and subscribe button, consider checking out some of the links in the description down below if they're for you, and with that being said, let's go ahead and begin. Now, what in the world is happening to make the crypto markets rally so fast back to the upside, with many of these coins already up double digits? Well, if we go and look towards the fundamental side before we get into all the technicals, we have a couple of things that are circulating around. Well, for one, we have Goldman Sachs. You heard that right. Goldman is leading a new round of capital, and it was almost at $100 million. Then we also have blockchain.com raising $110 million and their Series E fund. Now, what does this mean and why is it important? Well, what we're seeing is that both from TradFi, traditional finance, and from DeFi, decentralized finance, from both the crypto and the traditional side, they want in on crypto in more and more ways, whether it's them starting their own exchange, whether it's the application of a Bitcoin ETF, or even with Goldman Sachs now raising leading a round of nearly $100 million in raised capital for the crypto and decentralized markets. So we're starting to see a lot of money come back into the crypto space from every direction. It's not like it's just from crypto anymore. Even TradFi is getting in just about everywhere that they can get their hands on. Now, something else that was circulating around, and I thought this was funny, and I've been getting asked a lot of questions about it, but there have been people saying, hey, have you seen the new Solana ETF or the XRP ETF or any of this stuff? And the answer is, I hadn't until I did a little bit of digging. The only one that I saw was the XRP ETF. Now, unfortunately, for everyone out there, this was actually a little bit malicious in nature. And so, I'm not sure if it was someone from the XRP army or not, but someone went out there and nonetheless, they essentially forged a fake XRP ETF application. And I urge everyone out there, if you are going to forge a BlackRock ETF, it's considered market manipulation and forgery. You're tampering with the financial markets. It's illegal. The person that did this, from what I understand and from what I've heard, they're already being investigated and they're probably on the run if they're not already behind bars. Don't do this kind of thing. And also, you got to be really careful with where you're getting your sources from. If it's not from like the direct application website or any of those sources, you can't believe it. So there is no other ETFs besides the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs coming out of the States right now. So be aware of that. There hasn't been an XRP ETF. There hasn't been a Solana ETF. There hasn't been a Cardano ETF. You got to be really careful with this stuff. And I don't think that those will come for quite some time. So if you see all of a sudden that a Solana or XRP ETF hits your news again, I think it's extremely unlikely to happen, especially before the end of this year. So give it a little bit of time. They'll probably make their way around in due time, like other altcoin ETFs. But for the time being right now, I just don't see it as a very likely scenario. So when we go and we look back at the crypto markets, now that we've understood why and what kind of fundamental news we've been getting and how that affects the market and why it's a positive thing, what about the technicals? Well, if we go over and we look at something like Bitcoin, for example, this thing has still very much held support. We have this uptrending support line where we can see that whenever the price of Bitcoin gets down here, it tends to bounce to the upside and it sees an uptick in price. And we've seen this happen over and over and over and over again. And every time the price of Bitcoin gets near this support line, it tends to be a really common area where it bounces, hence why it's a support line in the first place. And this kind of goes for a lot of other cryptocurrencies as well. They pulled back to a support. Many of these cryptos did double, if not triple digit moves to the upside. And it's not uncommon to see a little bit of a pullback after a parabolic move upwards. So in many cases, this is a very normal thing for the crypto markets. And if you actually measure how far Bitcoin and a lot of these large caps are from their all-time highs, especially Bitcoin and Ethereum, I would say that like those are the standard. If you go and you measure like Bitcoin, for example, it's still like, it's still over 90% away from its all-time high, which means that it still needs to do almost a 2x in order to get back to its all-time high. And that's the largest crypto, Bitcoin. If you look at something like Ethereum, for example, let's pull that one up. So if you look at Ethereum still needs to do about 140%, almost 150% to the upside before it can get back to its all-time high of just under $5,000. So the crypto markets, at least if you believe that they're going to hit new all-time highs, we're still very far away from that market top. And I think it's also safe to say that if Bitcoin is expected to move 2x to the upside, that could like easily mean that altcoins move several times more than that, because we know that the altcoin market, typically based on performance and how big their market cap is, that generally means that they have more upside potential. What I mean by that is a $1 million project is going to be significantly easier to move upwards and do a 10x than a $1 trillion project is, or a $1 billion project. And so I think that that's going to be an important thing to look at as we get deeper and deeper into this cycle. But like I said, a lot of these cryptos are rallying, and even the altcoins that haven't rallied back to new yearly highs or new all-time highs, they're still seeing a really good day. I mean, we see things like Polkadot's up 4%, Chainlink's up 6%, IMX is up almost 5%, and then we have some of the bigger performers like Avalanche that's up almost 17.5%, Crypto.com being up 15.5%, things like PancakeSwap up 16%, Compound's up 11%, and the list truly does go on here. So when we're looking at the general like crypto markets, I think that we still have more room to go. I mean, even when we look at things like Bitcoin dominance, which is pulling back a little bit at the moment, this is perfectly normal even on this front. Because if we go and we look at the history of Bitcoin dominance, pretty much since the market has turned around, it has these periods where guess what? It goes up and then it pulls back 4 to 6% to or even below the 50-day moving average. Then it pulls up, or then it goes up and then it pulls back to the 50. Then it goes up, pulls back or below the 50, pulls up, back to the 50, up, back to the 50. And you can kind of start seeing the pattern that I'm trying to paint here. But guess where we are today? And many of these cases where we came back or below the 50 here and here and here, guess what? Bitcoin dominance is now just getting to, and it's just now below the 50-day moving average. So far, this move and everything that we've seen, whether you're looking at the Bitcoin to USD pullback or the Bitcoin dominance pullback or the altcoin pullbacks, nothing's out of place here. Nothing's out of the ordinary. This is all stuff that has happened pretty consistently over the last year now. And, yes, the upside moves on altcoins are getting more volatile, but that's to be expected the deeper that we get into a bull market. And from the Bitcoin side of things, really nothing is out of the ordinary at all. We've seen this, if not even worse, pullbacks in the past of Bitcoin and Bitcoin dominance over the last year. So, I say all of this to kind of like set some rest to this idea of like the bears already coming back in here, driving everything to new lows. Like I just don't see it as a reality. And not only do I not see it as probable, I see almost no argument to kind of make that case anymore. When you look at Bitcoin as a whole and we like really zoom out here, the market's turned around in November of 2022. And ever since then, it has been generally, for the most part, forming higher lows and higher highs. Now, what does that mean when we have 4 consecutive quarters of positive green growth in any kind of market? If we were in the traditional markets and we said, hey, we've seen 4 consecutive quarters of positive green growth, the traditional markets would be like, oh my gosh, we're like absolutely in a really good market if that's what we're seeing. But I think since we're in the crypto markets and, people think it's a little bit different, there's this idea of like the bear market's not over yet. But again, like look at the macros. 4 quarters of consecutive green growth it's pretty hard to argue that we're still in a bear market at that point. So that is going to round us off for today's video. If you guys haven't already, go ahead and check out those links in the description down below. You can check us out a little bit more. We have newsletters, we have Crypt Nation, we have Altcoin Alert, we even have the Crypto 101 podcast, which is the main thing that this channel is about. So you can go ahead and check out some of our other external sources as well in the description down below. And with that being said, everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video. And until next time, I'll see you all very soon.